It's that time again. Good morning, YouTube. It's Thursday and it's also our first unit menu. I am so excited. Of course, planning for menus can often be crazy, at least at the start, because I have a lot of copies to make, a lot of things to make sure that are complete. So I am going to head into the copy room, make some copies of the actual menu. But today is more about like introducing norms and expectations for menus. And I'm also doing something a little different. I do want to show a video clip to my students. So I'll give you all the details about what video I'm showing and how I'm going to kind of wrap that into introducing the menu. I'll check in with you guys a little bit later on and give you all the details. Well, it's about 3:15 in the afternoon, and I know I didn't get on here and talk to you the entire day. It was just a crazy day. I had lab with CP, so I was going really periods 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 was my lunch, and then I had 9 and 10. So I literally had absolutely no time to do anything today except just teach my classes. And obviously I had copies to make this morning because I was getting ready for a menu. But it was a great day. I was introducing my students to properties of ionic and covalent compounds. I really like the kind of the flow of the labs that I'm doing now. I find that with labs, I really like the ability to teach students something new with a lab, not necessarily just reinforce the concepts. So in this lab, we were looking at properties of ionic and covalent compounds. The students were looking at things like melting point. They were looking at solubility, conductivity, things like that. So that went really well. It took about a period. And then for the other period, as I already mentioned earlier today, my students were starting their very first unit menu. So this was something that I have been pre-planning for quite a while. Usually I do menus very early on in the year, but this year I want to take it a little bit slow. Given the year that the students have had the previous year, I really felt like I want to just kind of ease them in, kind of get to know them as learners, see where they're at, and then we can move on to trying a menu. If you're new to my channel and you're not sure what a unit menu is, basically it's a menu of choices. It's choices for learning modality and learning choices for assessment. It also includes things about formative assessments and then when the summative assessment date will be. And there's all these different choices for the students to use. All of the choices ideally teach the exact same content and skills. And if they don't, then usually I make it a required section. If you've taken my teacher prep room course, you know that this is something that I'm extremely passionate about. It's something that I absolutely love to do with students. And I think now is about the right time to try it. Given the year that the students have had in the previous year with COVID and whatnot, now that the students are in the classroom, I think this is going to run a lot more smoothly, and I think they're going to have a really great time doing it. But in the years past, when I've done this with my students, I haven't really provided more buy-in evidence for like why the student should be like, wow, this is a great way to learn. Instead, what I would usually start with were like the norms and expectations for behavior while the students are working in the menu in class. But really, I thought it was more important now to really promote that buy-in because menus are still a pretty new thing for a lot of my students, although some of the teachers have been adapting it because they've taken turnkey and professional development classes. And so for me, I think buy-in is a really big part of the process of encouraging students to really engage in the unit menu experience. Every time I start a unit menu experience with my students, I always try to promote buy-in, but it's mostly me talking at the students. I'm just like talking, saying things like, you get to take responsibility for your learning. You get to learn how to learn difficult things. You know, this is something that's going to really transcend all the things that you experience in high school and help you in college or help you in higher education. And it's one thing to just yada, yada, yada. It's a whole nother thing for students to actually see research that supports what I'm doing in the classroom. And so one of the things that I decided to do today was show a video clip, and you may have seen it. It's called The Science of Thinking, and it's by Veritasium. I absolutely love the content that he puts out. If you don't know what, this YouTube channel called Veritasium, you need to check it out. I think it was very well received by the students. I even noticed some of the students actually doing the activities that were in the video, which I thought was kind of cool. I think they really bought into this idea of the fact that they need to take more ownership over their learning, that this is their classroom environment. It's really not about me, it's about them and what they can do. And so I feel like this really set the stage for a more successful unit menu experience for the students, so that the students understand that it's more about what they're doing in the class and how they're comprehending the information. After the video, we went through and we started talking about some norms and expectations for behaviors in the classroom. So some of the things that I talk about with norms for unit menus, I basically say the expectation is that you're going to be working bell to bell. You want to work sequentially through the menu. If you don't do well on formative assessments, you want to make sure that you come and see me and work with me so I can make sure that you're back on track. And then of course I tell them that, assessment dates are firm. These are what are expected of you. You're going to have to make sure that if you're not where you need to be in the menu by the certain date, you have to go home and obviously work on it, and then you can come back in class and ask questions. So if you're thinking about trying something new in your classroom, my suggestion is show a video clip, show something that gives the students some insight as to why you're making the instructional decisions that you're making. I think next week will be really interesting to observe some of the behaviors, so I'll probably report to you guys next week on how it went. Either way, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will be sure to check in with you all next week.